Welcome back to the Total Focus Podcast. I'm your host, Paul. Our special guest this week is Bethany Wheatley. She is a former multi-time title holder, both holding titles in Delaware and Maryland, and she has had the opportunity to go to the College World Series in softball and the opportunity to model in Miami Swim Week. She is someone that is so inspiring. I met her 6 years ago, and she even admits that she went from someone that had really crushing anxiety to someone who's really now excelling and just being on the top of the world. You are going to be inspired if you are just someone that needs motivation or you do have anxiety. I hope you find inspiration from Bethany, and I hope you stay tuned. And welcome to the show.
Hey there.
Hi, Bethany. How's your quarantine life going?
It's going pretty well. I recently had to have some medical things done, so quarantine actually has been pretty nice for me to relax and definitely get back to the top-notch Bethany that I normally am. So quarantine actually has been pretty well for me.
Hey, if you go through any major surgery and you get the benefit of not being required to go back to work, I guess that's like the best scenario for you purpose. So I'm sure you didn't want to take a loss in income, but maybe your health will benefit by this extra time off.
Oh, I completely agree. I am such a perfectionist. I've been working 3 jobs because I really, there's a, I work hard for the things that I want. So working 3 jobs definitely was taking a toll on my body there for a while. So this little break for me has been phenomenal, and it's taught me a lot of things that I definitely want to work towards. So that has been honestly great for me.
Well, most important thing is to understand yourself and to be happy with yourself, and as long as you're heading towards that, that's the most important thing.
I agree.
So, do you? I've been working on my list of things that I want to do when quarantine life ends. Do you have a couple things you want to do right away, or maybe a couple weeks after they let us out of the bird cage?
Well, I definitely want to head back to the gym. I love the gym because it helps me clear my mind. Not only clear my mind, but I'm, a stickler for health and fitness. But I just got cleared this week to, get back to like running and things like that. So I have, started running since my procedure. But I honestly, the gym is like the first thing that I'm headed towards because the gym does wonders for people and it does wonders for me. I know that.
Well, people find mental health in so many ways. So it sounds like that's your mental health as well. So
Oh, most certainly.
um, I'm dying to just go to a restaurant and socialize and go to a movie and watch a movie. So
Oh my gosh, I would love that too.
going to the gym would be fabulous too, but just be able to socialize. You don't realize how much you want to just talk to people other than your parents. So
Oh, I completely agree. Some of my friends, have recently had babies or they work in the health field, and I've been worried about them every day, especially somebody like me who has a weak immune system. I've had asthma since I was 8 years old, and I would be absolutely devastated if I was to come down with something like this, and it'd be a really tough time for me. So it's been hard on me not seeing my friends and family, but I know it's for the best, and I agree. I can't wait to spend some time with them and even have a bonfire or something like that.
yeah, I mean, I can't. I'm thinking that there's gonna be like a world party if we can either find a cure or at least a treatment that allows us to recover from it and not die. at a lower rate. So I'm gonna pray that we can celebrate a big party as a world. So
Oh
um,
my gosh, I completely agree,
yeah.
and I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason because originally, I was going to school to be in the medical field, and I just can't imagine with my immune system trying to be at work every day in the health field with all this going on. And I absolutely think, doctors and nurses and, respiratory therapists, everybody out there in the medical field they really are, heroes. And it's been tough on me because I'm about to graduate with my degree so I can become a teacher. And I miss all my little kiddos and I just can't wait to see their smiling faces again. So I am, even though this break has been wonderful, I am ready to head back to work.
Well, I mean, by the time this all gets, you're probably not going to go back until the fall, right? So,
I, that's what I'm thinking.
so I guess you're gonna have an extra extended vacation then.
That's okay too.
um, so one of the reasons why I wanted to bring Bethany on is Bethany is a perfect example of one of the clients that I've been able to work with for the last 6 years, and I've seen her go from a very shy person to someone who's really taken every opportunity in the pageant world and the modeling world and really taking advantage of it. And I would love for Bethany to really tell everyone her story. And I think that Bethany could really be an inspiration to all of our listeners. So I hope you guys really enjoy Bethany telling her story about how she started out. So, how did you get into modeling and doing pageantry, Bethany?
So well, like you said, about 5 or 6 years ago, I had really, really bad cystic acne, and I suffered with really bad, body image problems. I always looked in the mirror, and I hated everything about myself, and it was really sad because I constantly compared myself to other women, and that is no way to live. And we as women already are, emotional and not as, I hate to say this, but like we women, we're just very sensitive to certain things. And some women are absolutely go hard and tough. But for me, I was one of those women, I had to make it there. And I started out with, like I said, my face was absolutely covered in cystic acne. And I would move my face and the pain I endured. It was so, there was just so much there that it taught me a huge lesson. Now, granted, I had to learn, like I said, how I'm big into health and fitness. I had to learn personally that I had to start taking better care of my body because it turned out that I had a dairy allergy. So cutting out dairy was absolutely, a huge difference in my diet. Um, I couldn't, if you ask any of my friends, I was the girl in high school. I was absolutely petrified to talk to anybody. I couldn't order my own ticket. I couldn't, let me rephrase that. I couldn't order my own ticket. I couldn't order my own food at a restaurant. People scared me, and I was that way my entire way growing up. And I can't explain it, but one day I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, we are not going to do this any longer because it caused me severe depression. So after seeking help, from my doctor for my skin, I just I looked at my mom has always we always watch Miss USA together, and I always told myself in high school I was like, I want to be one of those girls. I want to be somebody who inspires someone. And I literally in high school I didn't even think this dream was possible, Paul. It was the craziest thing. And one day I don't even know how to explain it. I broke out of my shell, and granted, it was a slow process. Don't get me wrong. Like it is, if it was each year, I learned something different, and I grew from everything I had been through. And in high school, I didn't have as bad as acne, but I've always been an athlete, so I always suffered from a little bit of acne, but not enough that I felt was a big difference. But other people did make comments about my face, and and things like that, which I do believe, which is where some of my insecurities came from. But
When did you start really having crushing um 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 depression is not the right word. Um I'm trying to think of the word that you would.
like body image
Well, no.
problems.
When you couldn't even order things. I'm trying to use the right words. That would uh
It was almost like an anxiety from
that's
it.
the word. Okay. So
Yeah.
when did you um start having really crushing anxiety that caused you to um not be able to did that start in middle school or did that start in high
Oh
school?
no, that started from, I'm telling you, I was probably, this is going to be crazy and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I was probably about 3 years old. And you can ask my mom, I was very attached to her. I did not like people to talk to me. I would hide behind her as a little girl. I just have always been scared of people and I don't know why. And it's something, to this day I can't explain, but I can tell you that I am nowhere near that girl that I used to be. And anxiety is a real thing. People don't understand it unless they've been through it, but I wish I could have, broke out of my shell earlier, but I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason. And my story through cystic acne, I can't tell you how rewarding it is for me that when I finally broke out and shared what had happened to me and how I overcame it and overcame the struggles and the depression and the anxiety, and finally got some, positive body image, or I finally got some confidence. It just was a whirlwind of emotions, and the women and even some men, flooded my inbox on all of my social media asking me what I did to overcome this. And that right there, when I have some rough days, that right there is what pushes me, because I'm making a difference in somebody's life, and that's what this is all about. I constantly ask myself, like, if you're scared to share your story, you don't want to be embarrassed, because there's somebody out there going through the same thing, and they need you to inspire them. And ultimately, that's where I feel, I was put on here, I put on this earth for. And what pageantry has done for me is I'm here to inspire somebody. And I try to inspire somebody every day, whether it's leave a comment on someone's Facebook or send a positive text message, or things like that. Pageantry has done a lot for me. And Paul, I still remember that day walking into your studio, and I had absolutely no idea what to do. And you coached me through everything. And that's a moment also I'll never forget.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I try to treat everyone exactly the same and to treat everyone special. I'm happy that that moment and that time made you feel so special. But you should always feel that special. I mean, everyone is special in their own way, and it's good that you finally realized that. It's sad that you didn't realize that sooner, but you have such a long life to live. I hope that you'll take advantage of every opportunity you have in the future. So, you're you, you're really concerned that when you were a small child that you had this crushing um, anxiety put against you, but you were playing sports too. But
Oh,
that
absolutely.
playing sports didn't help to get that out.
And
No.
it's the weirdest thing though, is it was completely like it was like a wall there, because in sports, I absolutely like could have a conversation with people when it came to being on the softball field. I I wish I knew, because absolutely loved my teammates growing up. Being around here, when I was younger, we played against a lot of more local teams, and they also became your friends. And I was not shy when it came to athletics at all. So I just wish, I can't even explain. I put like a wall up, and it's like, oh, I don't know you outside of this. There's a wall here. Please don't talk to me. I'm scared. You know what I mean? Versus at the football field, it was like free. free range for me. I would love to talk to everybody. I made sure I was playing to the best of my ability. And I don't know. I just, now, granted, sometimes if there, in 2011, we actually won the Little League World Series. And
Wow, congratulations.
thank you. There was a time when, my coach would, each time we got represented at different places, my coach would tell people, and Bethany finished with the highest batting average in the world. And I would feel embarrassed because everybody was looking at me, but what, I have nothing to be embarrassed of because that was one of the biggest accomplishments in my life. But
I mean, that's not something to just gloat over. Congratulations on having that record. Was that a record for that series, or is that a all-time
correct, yep.
record?
So in 2011, I finished with a batting average. I'm pretty sure it was like a 475 or something around
Wow.
that range. And
But
I just
that's
remember I
still,
was
because he highlighted it, you still felt overwhelmed because people were just gawking at you, and then they wanted to come up and take
correct.
photos. And
Oh my gosh, yes. I was just, I knew, like, my coach was so proud of me and I was so proud of me, but I knew other people, like, hearing about it were proud of me too. But I literally, like, I got like a pounding in my chest because I don't know how to explain it. I was petrified. It was the most, like, I don't want to call it bizarre because it wasn't bizarre, but that anxiety really, took a toll on me there for a while.
well, they say that anxiety is a really devastating disease to have, or condition. So, um, I can't imagine not being able to talk to someone just because you're so crippling. I mean, the only thing that I could personally equate it to was I met a wrestler at an autograph signing, and I was waiting in line with my mom for an hour, and I was like five, or no, I was older than that. Maybe I was like 9 or 10. And when I got up to the table to get the autograph, I couldn't move my mouth, and I have no idea like what was going on. I couldn't move my mouth at all. So is that kind of the equation? Sometimes you wouldn't be able to talk. Is that how crippling it was?
I could talk, but it wasn't exactly, fluent. There was a time, I'll never forget it. I had to do a presentation in front of my class, and there were some things that I would get like tripped up on, and ultimately, like, again, I'd get that same pounding feeling in my chest. And I think more of my anxiety was I was scared to mess up. And but when it was done and over with, it was like a relief off my shoulders. And I was so worried. And I think that's where a lot of my issues came from, is I was so scared that people either weren't going to like me, or I was scared that I was going to mess up, or I don't, I just, I definitely think that's where it came from. But on the softball field, you would see a totally different person. Now, granted, there were moments that I, like, up to bat, if there was somebody, I don't have, if there's just moments where, like, I could be up to bat, and I felt the pressure. I definitely felt it, if that makes sense. I Most of the time I succeeded, but when I didn't, I definitely, I felt it. And I think sometimes that would carry on sometimes to the next at bat. And obviously, that week of the World Series, it was definitely, my talent was definitely in my favor, and it paid off. But there was moments before that, like my junior softball season, I felt like looking back, I felt like that was the worst season I had in my entire life. But in reality, now that I look back and you see the newspaper articles and things like that, it really wasn't as terrible as I felt, because I let myself think that I had done so poorly. So that's why I really want to preach, confidence. I also coach a softball team, and I tell these girls the same story all the time, that you if if you want it, you're going to do everything it takes, to become it. And you cannot let, yesterday's failures affect today. So a lot of the girls too, that they don't understand that your mentality is everything in that sport, which is why you would think, you would think that I would have skyrocketed after that, but I separated the two.
Do you think you separated the two because you didn't think you were as good as you really were, or do you think that you just didn't realize it?
Well, there was a time that I'll never forget this moment either. My 8th grade year, I had made it on the JV softball team as a starter, and there were a few girls who had bullied me so bad that told me I wasn't as good as I thought I was, and things like that. And that was a huge heart wrenching moment for me, because I remember I came home crying to my mom and dad, and they were like, "You can't let people affect you." And at this time, that was such a high moment for me, because I was doing so well, and other people sometimes, if they see someone else doing well and they're not, sometimes unfortunately people try to make you feel bad and bring you down. But I wish at the time I knew, as much as my parents gave me advice too, I had to learn it for myself. Sometimes it takes learning it over hearing it, because so many people tried to give me advice, but I listened, but I didn't apply it, if that makes sense. So there's definitely moments that was, I don't know how to explain that one. That was a huge eye opener for me, and it kind of pushed me backwards, right? Kind of where I felt like I had made it, and then you take 9 steps forward, 10 steps back.
Looking back, did you think that if you would have pushed through that mental block, um, you could have gone further in softball and been really
Oh,
successful?
absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I made sure my younger sister, she got Gatorade Player of the Year and Delaware State Player of the Year her senior year, and I made sure that when we were outside working and things like that, off the tee or playing catch or whatever it was, that I made sure that I instilled in her that she let me that I she made sure that in her mind that she was the best. Even if she wasn't the best, you will never let anybody affect your thought process that they would be better than you. That you play every game like it's your last, and that nobody can ever say anything to you that should affect you. Now, with that being said, do people always say things? Yeah, of course they do. But I made sure that she didn't let anybody affect her. Does everybody have bad games? Oh my gosh, of course. But you're not going to walk off the field and let somebody make you feel like you're any less than who you are. And
So,
that works for her. And you could tell in her face and her body language. And there's just no doubt in my mind.
well, I mean, clearly, you found a really knack at being a great coach too, because I'm sure that your sister would admit that without your good tutelage, she wouldn't have gone as far as she did without your help. So if you definitely helped her in that way, then you should feel credited to getting her to those achievements. So,
Yeah, she didn't really have a choice. She was out at the ball field since she could walk.
well, I mean that's good.
Of course.
So when I first met you, how were you
Mm-hmm.
still doing softball at that point, or had you fallen into a more of a depression at that point, or had you just
So,
like gone into yourself and
I had
worked like
I
where
had
was your mental
actually
standpoint?
I had actually just finished my sophomore year at my Division II community college. We had made it to the softball World Series in Mississippi. We didn't have that great of a run, but I ended up making the all region softball team, which was super exciting for me, because I put in a lot of work, and I felt like all that work had, come to light for me, and I had felt very accomplished, and I had wanted to play 2 more years at a higher level. But at the time, my mind was on, let's graduate school, let's get this degree. I definitely regret not playing the 2 more years, but again, look at what happened. That summer I had the worst, acne I've ever had in my life. I had the worst depression, the worst anxiety. And then fall of that year, that's when I met you, and I sat there to myself and I said, I'm making a change. I will not feel like this. And I was tired of comparing myself to other women because I didn't know if those other women had gone through something that I had gone through too. So it was, that I was at that time softball had ended, and I don't know if that also, played a factor in it, because that was, you know,
Was
my
do you feel that was your shield that was protecting you from like elementary into high school and now into college, and now you've lost it and you were trying to find something else that would be something that you could work on your own self? Is that what you were thinking, or that you felt that you had lost?
um I don't know if I definitely, felt it. I had played that sport since I was 8 years old. That sport has taught me so many lessons, and it definitely hurt me, to know that I wasn't going to pick up a bat and a glove anymore. But I think what healed me is, and what helped is, I found something else to work towards. Um, Pageantry has helped me stay very dedicated and take care of myself in ways that I never thought before. Like, you know, talking back about the dairy allergy, when I was playing, granted, I ate very healthy when I was playing sports, but, when I wasn't eating exactly how I should. And I always suffered with like stomach problems and things like that. And pageants have helped me to make sure that I stay strict to my diet and take care of myself. And whenever I'm getting ready for a pageant, I feel like I'm the best me, that I can be. And I know that somebody out there, now that I'm in the teaching world, I so many kids come up to me and they ask me, they're like, "Oh, you're Bethany Wheatley," and they say like things about like pageants, and then about like how I've overcome cystic acne, and everybody asks me about my story, and that to me, just like I did my sophomore year of softball, I feel accomplished just like I had again. So I know that everything that I'm working towards is meant for something, and that I'm helping, at the end of the day, I'm helping someone. And I use the same story, what I went through in softball as this. Everything is a lesson. And most people aren't willing to share their lesson, but I am.
Well, I mean, that's what makes a great teacher, is that you're able to learn things and be able to then instruct people and actually teach people what you've accomplished, and making them understand it in a way that is uh, inducive for them to be able to eat, to consume the knowledge. So, I mean, that's what a great teacher is. So, to me, it already sounds like you're you must be an incredible softball coach. And if you're that passionate with softball, I'm sure in the classroom it must be fun too.
Oh, absolutely.
So
Oh, go ahead.
6 years back, you're transitioning, you're focusing, you're trying to find something. Now, um, how did you find pageantry? So is it solely because you were just watching it on television, or how did you decide that you were going to do the system that you were doing, and and actually do it? Because there's a big difference between just watching it on television every year and then actually competing and buying the dress and doing the competition.
Oh, absolutely. I had my mom, growing up when I was a little girl, she actually had put me in a bunch of different pageants, and there was one I'll never forget, that a little boy had to walk us down. It was actually Miss Delmar Fire Prevention, and I was just the same shy, timid little girl. I didn't want anybody to touch me. I was scared to talk, but I knew when I was little I absolutely loved getting dressed up. Um, there was a couple I did, and I remember I did a local pageant that is it's big in my area. She does a wonderful job. Her name is April Brilliant, and I do owe a lot of my success to her because in that exact moment I had felt something I had never felt before. And I have never cried in a softball game. But when I tell you I had lost this pageant, I hadn't done any since I was a little girl. I did a teen pageant for her. It was called Miss Delmarva. It wrecked my heart. I was shattered into pieces. And that moment I couldn't explain my emotions, and I didn't understand exactly what was going on. And I don't know if that came from, me always playing on teams that were so successful in softball to take a loss. But like I said, when I lost in softball, it was, I gave it 110%. I got to go out here and work harder. And that's what I kind of, in that moment after the team pageant that I had did from, locally, that my mom would like talk about, Miss Delaware Teen USA and things like that. And I'm like, Mom, I don't even think that's just not possible. I just can't do anything like that. And, I didn't even know how to sign up for it. And that's what I would love to bring to my area is pageants are so, one, they're evolving, and two, people don't understand even how to apply most of the time. And when I was that teenager, I was like, I can't do that because I didn't know where to start. And after thinking about that moment when I was a teen, and then versus when I met you, 5 years ago, I still didn't know. There's so many things I didn't know. Each time I compete, I learned so many different things. And after this last time I competed, it broke me down. I'm not gonna lie to you. I cried, and after a few of the pageants that I hadn't I wasn't very successful in, but I may have not come home with a crown or a sash or things like that, but it's so much more to me. I love the adrenaline I get when I'm walking across the stage and know that I am strutting for everything I've worked hard for. And in that moment, I feel amazing. And I feel amazing even when I'm watching the women on Miss USA because I know everything and how hard that they work. And this last time at Miss Delaware USA, I felt like I did my best, but at the same time, I learned so much more about myself. I learned that one, I still work hard. I go out there, I dedicate myself to the gym, but in reality, I had to learn this time that it's not just for me. I came back and I had hundreds of kids and students asking me, "Did you win? Did you win? We were rooting for you." And that in that moment, I realized that there was all these people, rooting for me and cheering me on, and that's my reason to continue doing that because people are looking up to me and they want the best for me. It's absolutely amazing, and it took me what was that, my fourth try?
Yeah.
To learn that it's really not, it is about me, but it's so much more when you earn the crown and the sash. And I haven't I haven't earned it, but I refuse to give up. And that's what these kids are learning from me. And I go and I lose and I go and I lose, but the important thing is I'm still going. And I think these kids have truly just have saved my life from everything. They they help me with my anxiety. I help them with their anxiety. And I think that's why I also love so much being a teacher, because they're creating new ways for me to learn, and I'm doing the same for them.
Do you think that having anxiety is a good remedy for most people, or is it just happens to be the cure for you personally?
um you know that's kind of a tough question because there are days that I still get anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
I have when I have a lot on my plate, I definitely, anxiety does get the best of me. I'm not going to lie to you, but I get it done. When I have anxiety, I know it's important to me and that I need to do whatever it takes to achieve it. And if I don't, I still continue to do so. Anxiety, there's plenty of anxiety I get before I go walk on a stage. But when I step on it, everything changes. So I definitely think, um, I don't know, that's a tough one, Paul. You got me.
Well, no, I mean, to me it sounds like without pageantry, without finding your passion, because it sounds like this is your passion, or what you do as your hobby, has really changed your life. Because I'm listening to someone that sounds like she was going down this road and now has found a new path. And it sounds like you seem much happier now. You seem like you have a goal in life, a passion. You sound like you've changed your diet. You expressed that you have no breakouts on your face anymore. So you know, do you think that like you're going to live longer because you found pageants? Do you feel that like
Oh,
am I
absolutely.
okay?
Pageants saved my life. Without a doubt. Was in such a severe depression because I felt so terrible about myself. I couldn't look in the mirror. I was so hypocritical of my body. And now that I look back at it, I'm thankful for those times, but I cannot believe how hard on myself I was. And pageants, I'm telling you, it was a very dark time for me. And the fact that I pulled through that, Paul, is absolutely honestly a miracle. And I'm not one to, at the time, I wasn't one to share what was happening with me. And I was I was beside myself. I went to school and continued what I needed to do, but I wasn't happy. I was very unhappy, and pageants have done a whirlwind of things for me. And I no longer allow myself to think badly of myself, and I don't let other people think badly of themselves. And I didn't understand the thoughts and the feelings that were going on in my mind. But as soon as I realized how much pageantry has done for me, that's why I couldn't stop. I loved it, and I loved the adrenaline. I loved it, ultimately just inspiring people, because that is what healed me.
Well, we haven't even talked about just having a significant other. Were you having trouble finding that before pageantry? And I now know that you're in a very happy relationship.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So
So,
before
and
that, was there any success at all, or no?
no, because at the time when all this had happened is when I had went through also a really really bad breakup. And I think that is also what had contributed to me comparing myself to other women, because you feel like I was so young too, and I felt like I had given my all in my relationship, and I didn't understand what it was that I was doing. And ultimately, I related to it had to be the way I looked and things like that. And as women, that's the first thing we go to. And I knew in that moment that I needed to make a change, but it wasn't a change, to be back in my relationship. It was a change that so I felt that I was the best person that I could be. And it took me 5 years to eventually get into a new relationship. And I was absolutely, how can you, I couldn't love anyone else because I didn't love myself. And it's true when people say that you have to love yourself first, because every time I tried to talk to someone, all those insecurities and the lack of the confidence, and my depression and anxiety with all those insecurities and everything like that, it showed every time I went to go talk to someone. And I just constantly always thought, you know, those bad things were replaying in my head all the time, and that I wouldn't be good enough. And finally, when I have found myself in pageantry, that was when I got into this relationship, the well, we'll be together almost 2 years, and where I'm the happiest I've ever been, and I can feel loved, and I can love in return, and it's great.
I mean, that's the most important thing is that you found yourself. And I mean, I think the best thing of advice that I heard that everyone always says, but no one wants to listen to is you can't expect someone to love you if you don't love yourself. So
Oh, exactly.
I just wanted to take 1 second from this great interview and talk about our sponsor of the week, Mid Atlantic Video and Photography Productions. No matter if you're planning a wedding, a special event, or you just need an amazing headshot, they are the team to get the job done. You can reach out to them at 443 422 3830. Again, that's 443 422 3830. Or you can go right to their website at mavpp.com. Now let's get right back to the show and listen to this great interview. Retrospect, you're now 100% more confident, right? Have a
Oh, absolutely.
successful relationship, um, really successful job, going further, health wise, everything. Um, is this something that you're going to pursue the rest of your life, or do you think you're going to do pageant coaching? Like, how do you think because it sounds like, do you need this to do well, or do you think that you've recovered so much that you don't need pageantry? Pageantry
So I
can just be something that you can consume and watch, but you don't have to have it in your life to be happy.
so I definitely, wanted a part of my life somehow, and there are so many goals and things, which is nice. That's another thing pageantry has taught me is to set a goal, and I absolutely would love to still compete. But I definitely want to still compete, but I have, bigger dreams too. That again, like I said, pageantry this year has taught me that it's not about me. It's about what I'm going to do for others, and I would like to bring a pageant, locally here under myself, and I want to teach other people that how important pageantry is, and I'll continue to share my story and what it's done for me. And if they have, all these women have so many different stories, but they don't share it, and I'm hoping to bring that here and start my own brand kind of. And I just hopefully I have a lot of plans. I just need to sit down. Hopefully quarantine will help me set out my goals
Well, do you have your
and things
colors
like
picked
that.
out? Because this is really exciting. Do you have your colors for your pageant picked out?
I don't, but
Why don't you go with the Delaware State colors?
I really like that because blue is my favorite color.
Okay, we're on the same team.
Yeah. Oh, good.
um, yeah, because I mean, if you're gonna focus on specifically Delaware, um, I know a couple of pageant directors that just have one, it's just one pageant that doesn't go anywhere, and it represents just that community, and you could just do a state pageant. So, and I'm sure
Yeah,
that a
very
lot
true.
of people would love to represent the first state in the union. So,
Completely agree.
so, um, why don't we give people a little bit your back history on all the titles you won? Because in the last 5 years, you've won a hell of amount of titles on top of all of the modeling opportunities. So why don't you just tell all your listeners? Because starting out, I'm sure that the Bethany of 5 years ago or 6 years ago would have never been believed that you would have had all these titles on your hand. You would have all these great achievements. So I would
Oh
love
my
for
gosh.
I would love for people to realize that with positive thinking and eating right and just being confident and believing in yourself, you can achieve so much. So
Yeah, so I started out with that local pageant that is it's a big name pageant here because she has done, wonders with her title. I went back for that pageant that I didn't win as a teen, and I won Miss Delmarva in 2016. And I started getting more involved with my community, and with that title, she allowed me to then compete for the Mardell Watermelon Queen, which I got first runner up. I competed for that twice. Again, like I said, I am very determined. Lost the first time, I came back, and even though I lost the second time, they allowed me to do a lot of different promotions, you know, for the Mardell Watermelon Association. So I had to really, that's what kind of broke me out of my shell. And, I had to promote this product, and it made me, I had to talk to people. I didn't have an option. And after I had did that,
Well, that's such a
I,
unique pageant because a lot of people have never even heard of this type of pageant. So why don't you explain like the whole point of it? Because most people don't know that there is an association that represents just the watermelon crops. So
sure. So what's nice about it is people don't realize how important actually watermelon is for you. It is, you know, it's full with vitamins, and well, like vitamins like A, B6, and C. It just has so many nutrients in it. It's so good for you. It's really, it's one, it helps with immunity. Um and we need that in a time like this.
hmm
um it's just very good for your skin. Definitely good. It helps reduce heart disease and things like that. And I fell in love with promoting, healthy foods, because it is like a fruit that I have absolutely loved my entire life.
and it
And
legitimately is a healthy food. It's not like you can pump antibiotics and it grows bigger. It's like it's
oh,
a
exactly.
it's you know it's nothing that they can mess with to make it. It's still an actually unique, genuine product that they produce. So
Oh, exactly. And it was so fun, promoting it and having to, to share the benefits of watermelon with other people. And people don't realize, the hard work that these farmers put into, making this crop. And they take time away from their families, and to essentially help you, be healthier. And the fruit is so good for you, and it tastes great. And I absolutely loved promoting the product and promoting the farmers and promoting my area. It was such a fun time, and kids really love it. And not only that, water obviously, a watermelon is huge, and it's 92% water. So if you're dehydrated, one, it can help you with dehydration, and two, you can feed up to 6 people with a watermelon. So go ahead.
well, there's so many really awesome things that you can do with the watermelon. You can cook it and make it into a roast or do some like really fancy things, or you can do the alcohol thing and you can make it into. So there's so many positive as well as like fun things you can do with a watermelon, and um, you can enjoy it the entire year. You can mix it up. You can, so it's a cool. I just think that the concept of doing a pageant that's a part of an association where you're not representing a state, but you're representing an association as like a goodwill ambassador is so cool. Um,
Oh, it's
and
so fun.
and to have like they give them these like cute little outfits, and they everything is like watermelon, so they have bags and like hats, and it was so cute.
Oh, yeah. Watermelon is definitely a huge product in the industry, whether it's clothes or shoes or the watermelon itself. A lot of people love anything to do with a watermelon. I know I do. And the facts and everything have stuck with me. And if I ever come across people, talking about watermelon, I join right in on the conversation. It just brings a lot of joy to my heart, and I think it does for anyone else, involved with it.
Well, yeah, I absolutely agree. So you had that experience, and
Yep. And
then
then I had went to Pure American Pageants, and that was an eye opener for me, because they have like a huge, age range there, and I was probably one of the youngest people in my division, and I felt I was very insecure there. I'm not going to lie to you. I felt a little out of my league, but I went out there and I did my best. And at that moment, I had hoped I would do better, but I unfortunately, different judges, different day. And I knew though in that moment there's so much I needed to work on. I literally I beat myself up over it for about a day, and I'm like, man, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I make it? And that pageant did a lot of things for me. That's the first time I had competed in so many different, areas of competition. And I learned there that I didn't know who I was. So after I had competed in pure I my next pageant was Miss Delaware Earth. And I had
And the Earth
learned.
system has become like a home for you because you've competed several times in the Earth system, right?
Yes. Yep, I've competed twice, and that was my more recent title. I was Miss Maryland Earth 2019, and that was probably the best reign I've ever had. I absolutely, I stuck to actually before I had got my reign or my title, I was probably very unhealthy at the time. Like I had kind of let myself go, and I was super upset because I had come back from Miami Swim Week, and I felt like I had just worked so hard, and I did, it was different because I had to break out of my shell because I'd never done just modeling before, but I knew I had made it and I did the best I could be, but I had the best experience I've ever had. I made so many new friends, and I really learned, how to position my body and things like that. And when I had gone to, you know, Miss Earth this time, I learned things, ways to make my hair better, or different ways that you should go about your makeup and things like that. And when I first went to Miss Earth, oh my gosh, it is just completely different. Like even like how I did my hair and makeup and the way I took care of my body during my reign, it's just I learned that if I'm trying to inspire someone, I'm sure you can inspire someone no matter how you look. But like the crown and the sash bring a lot of attention, and that's almost kind of like your microphone.
Or your
And
key to, or the key to the city.
oh,
So
absolutely,
it's just
and
something that when you have that access, you have more power. So
absolutely, and I just look at how different I took care of my body then. Was I absolutely, at the time I felt like I was, like very, very, skinny and things like that versus, well, this time around I was fit. I made sure, I was taking, the right, supplements and things like that. I wasn't taking any vitamins to help take, better care of my body and things like that. And making sure I drank enough water, and overall, my mental health was just better. And again, even though I've done a few of those pageants, I wasn't mentally prepared for Miss Earth that year. But it made, again, I had to learn, and I learned so much too about the earth. I became, so passionate about everything, and, littering and making sure I'm picking up trash and making sure other people aren't, doing, or making sure other people are doing their part to help better the earth. And this time, my second time around, I'm like, well, how are these people going to know if we don't educate them? And that was everything, my platform was about this time was educate, eliminate, and empower. And I still stand by that. And, it's funny is being in quarantine, I have like in my neighborhood, I've realized why, I've been running, and I'm like, why is there all this trash? So tomorrow, that's my plan. I'm grabbing a trash bag, and even though I'm not Miss Maryland Earth anymore, I'm still going to do my part, and I'm going to share it with other people because I want them to do their part too.
well, it's great that it really has changed your life when it comes to making a difference.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know, if we can get everyone on the same page, the earth would be so much cleaner. So
Right.
so it just shows like all these titles that you've won and how your life's changed. I mean, is it easy to say that you would definitely recommend a young child to either play a sport or to do pageants to get out of their shell and to be more confident?
Absolutely. If it wasn't for softball, I don't think I would actually probably be into pageantry, because softball had taught me so many things. It taught me, one, how important friendships are. Two, that, like I said, if you want something bad enough, you'll do whatever it takes to achieve that. And there was times, like I said, when I felt like I had the worst, batting average on the team, or that I was not hitting well, but I always had my defense to fall back on. But I was the girl that after that game that I felt that I did so bad, I would go hit off the tee until the sun went down. I I was not okay if I wasn't doing good. So I made sure, whether it be, my dad take me somewhere to hit, or I'm I'm sitting out on the tee, or asking my coach for extra reps. Sports have taught me that, with if you to never settle. So I took that same mentality into pageantry, and I think that's why I've been so successful with my titles. And I definitely think that, there's moments like after recently that I was like, maybe I should be done. But, sitting here having this conversation with you is honestly kind of what brought to light the fact that it's not just about me, it's about the people who are behind me and that are watching me.
I mean, you I think you have more in the tank, and you sound so passionate. It sounds like it would be a shame for you to not pursue something that you honestly want. And if you have the time, money, and um, desire, then you should go for it. Now,
Oh, absolutely.
if you don't have those in one of those, then then I totally understand.
Right.
I just wanted to take one extra second and talk about our sponsor of the week, Mid Atlantic Video and Photography Production. No matter if you're planning a wedding and you need a wedding videographer, you're doing a music video, or you're doing a commercial, they are the team to get the job done. You can reach out to them at 443 422 3830. Again, that's 443 422 3830. Or you can go right to their website at mavpp.com. Now let's get right back to this great interview. All right. So, Bethany, this is the part of the show where I let you take over and let you highlight anything we didn't discuss. So, is there anything that we didn't talk about that's really important that we bring up and really tell everyone that's going on?
Sure. I definitely feel like I want people to know that I am the type of person that never gives up, and I want other people, to do the same. That there's been a lot of hardships in my life and moments that I definitely think that I couldn't break through, but it's the courage to continue what counts. And, I'm able to, inspire and share my story with so many people. And don't be afraid to share your story. You're important, your story's important, and you never know the impact you're going to make on somebody's life. I There's just times that you never feel like you're going to make it, and I promise you, you will. Just don't ever give up, and don't be afraid to, talk to someone, or take matters into your own hands and get out there and do what I did and just push through whatever it is. I told myself that this could go on no longer, and I've done that every day since. I've, pageants, if you're scared to do a pageant, it's completely normal. And those people who have had bad experiences, I'm sorry that they've had them, but it has done wonders for me. It saved my life, and I think it could save, a million more people's lives. And if you've had a bad experience, I really hope that you can give it an extra try, because this has been an ongoing, goal of mine for 5 years, and it's helped me take better care of myself. It's allowed me to love myself and love everybody else, abundantly. And I hope that, if you can branch out and even start, at a small local pageant, that it will do wonders for you. And if it is negative, just keep trying. Ultimately, I have failed at things so many times, but I never give up. And each time they're like, everybody always asks, at pageants, they're like, how do you define success? And success to me is what you make it. And each time that I failed, I learned a huge lesson and then I came back stronger. So this has been, 5 years worth of lessons, but I've never given up because each time I learned something different. Had I had won, Miss Delaware USA 4 years ago, I wouldn't be able to, fulfill my title the way I could, now. And my experience through school and teaching and modeling, that all of this has prepared me for this moment. And had this been 5 years ago, would not be able to fulfill.
I'm just so impressed by you, Bethany. Because the person I met, when I started the show, is not the person that you are today. And I really want people to understand that if you're struggling and you feel that, you need more confidence, that you just need to find something that you can become passionate about, or find a group of people that will relate to you and love you, and you can work through it. And there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And Bethany is absolutely the definition of finding the light at the end of the tunnel. As we demonstrated, she's healthy, happy, great relationship, great education, great job. And I have to think that it has 100% to do with her positive outlook on life, and also doing these pageants that have really opened and helped her to get over her crushing anxiety. So,
I couldn't agree more, Paul.
well, I think that's a great way to just call it a day. And I want to thank Bethany for coming on the show, and I really appreciate you being a part of this, Bethany.
Absolutely. I can't thank you enough for, allowing me to be on the show because, again, just in this moment, I learned so many things that I'm going to take with me.
Oh, good. And I really hope we can inspire a whole group of other people to go out and either clean up the environment, be a great softball player, be a great teammate, or be a great pageant contestant. So I wish everyone love and support and happiness through quarantine, and hope to see you guys all outside of it.
That's what it's all about. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Bethany. Thank you so much, Bethany, for coming on the show and letting everyone know that you can come out on the other end and just be the most incredible person. And the only thing holding yourself back is yourself. And I'm so thankful that you found yourself and you're able to really excel and be happy and just be an incredible, beautiful person and have everything you want in life. And I think that if our listeners really take in this whole episode, they will realize how incredible your short life experience has been and how much you're on an up projector, and definitely one of our best guests ever. I'd like to just thank everyone for continuing to listening to our episodes. Our subscribers are continuing to go up, and I want to thank everyone so much for commenting and liking both on YouTube and iTunes, and I really appreciate it. And I want to pray for everyone who is in quarantine and dealing with this horrible virus. So I hope everyone is trying to stay positive, and we are here for you, and we are wishing you the best. Don't forget, we also have a review show called The Movie Breakdown with my co-host Yvonne Carlos. So if you are loving movies, please check that out. It's on the same feed as our YouTube Total Focus show and our iTunes feed for the RSS feed. So please just subscribe and you'll get both of them in the inbox. I hope you guys really enjoy that. As always, please stay tuned.